got it. I think we got it. I think we got it. I'm gonna be happy. I'm happy. We're just gonna wait till. Nah, we're not gonna wait. We're gonna set some stuff up. Let's just. I mean, we're gonna wait, but we're gonna. Yeah, I see my YouTube just got back on. Gotcha, gotcha. Sorry, y'all. Hopefully, come right back on in. All right, and let me pop up my window here. Boom, boom. Oh, cause this show too spicy not to do. All right, let me see if I can get back on Facebook. I know. Let me take this down, unpin, and then I'm going to edit privacy, make sure this is public. That was a really good opening. It was a really good opening show. So I'm gonna make sure I go back and get some of those thoughts, but we're gonna hop into it. Here we go. Really good opening. Like I was super excited to say what I had to say. So yeah, folks are coming back in now. Cool. Thank you for your support and patience, y'all. I appreciate you. Can't wait till I get a studio. Even when I was on OWN, one thing I was listening back to the show that I'm going to reference today. When I listened back, I realized like when things were going haywire, I didn't always have James in the studio. James Frolio, shout out James, or Jenna, shout out Jenna Freeney. I didn't always have James and Jenna in the studio. And I hear myself when the Wi-Fi crashed, I'm talking as I'm trying to troubleshoot at a radio board. And I could have, so many times I could have just played music, but it was just so much going on. Welcome back. Tell me if you in the chat, just drop something in the chat so I know you back. But yeah, this reminds me of my radio days where, again, I had support. James Frolio and Jenna Freeney were extraordinarily helpful in terms of teaching me how to work the board. They taught me how to do a lot of things. But there were times where I was very self-sufficient and I wanted to be that way. But there were times where they weren't in there and I was just listening to Good Morning Same Facade. I was listening to myself on this episode. All right. Okay. Let's get to it. We back. All I had to do is restart. That's it. And I'm learning not to get crazy too when things go off the rails. All right. All right. So anyway, we adjust and move forward. What did my English teacher, St. Andrews High School, Mrs. Gilliard? Anybody had Mrs. Gilliard at St. Andrews High School or in the Charleston County Public School systems? If you had Mrs. Gilliard, she used to say, whenever I couldn't, if I had a catastrophe with a project that was due, she said, adjust and move forward. Adjust and move forward. I'm gonna recite that today. All right. 76 degrees today in Charleston against TGIF. Hot, 92 degrees is the high. The weekend gonna be hot. Copy and paste. You get it. It's hurricane season. Front page of the Post and Courier. This is the only story. I'm gonna keep it real. The only story I care about is this one right here. Shout out to Steve Garrison. I referenced Steve Garrison's reporting of the Jason Cooper body cam footage release. I referenced Steve Garrison's reporting there. Also, Steve Garrison made himself available to me. Hey, Michelle, thank you so much for coming back on Facebook. I referenced Steve Garrison's reporting, and Steve Garrison made some time for me to answer some basic questions about what was going on with the police department. In terms of the releasing of that highly edited, highly redacted, stylized and narrated video outlining what happened with the Jason Cooper shooting. Spoiler alert, we don't know what happened with the Jason Cooper shooting because we don't have the full video, right? And then we already covered that on the previous Twitch, right? We saw the two kids with AKs and all that shooting at cops for over an hour, and them kids were taken into custody alive. You could take an armed suspect in custody alive. You don't have to kill him. So anyway, so Steve Garrison is following up the whole Murgdahl thing. And let me just tell you something right now. Taisha and I spoke multiple times yesterday about this, and we had to take certain precautions. Let me just say it like that. I will not be engaged in this story sloppily at all. When I tell you this family is not a joke. When I tell you these white folk that done sent 14 people to the electric chair, at least 14 people to the electric chair, which I would just guess, I'm a guess, the majority of the 14 people sent to the electric chair were black. This family ain't no joke. And I heard the granddaddy died. But Sled's role in this, y'all know how we feel about Sled. Shout out to Jessica who put me on to Radley Balco's reporting about Sled from the Washington Post. We learning about Sled. We're gonna read some books about law enforcement. Hopefully Sled is mentioned in some of those books that I have back there. Sled's cover up. Their tendency to cover up is legendary. And this family has been in power for 85 years. Y'all, that's real power, that's real influence, that's real money. Everyone is terrified of them. I'm white and black. Everyone is terrified. How the hell you got, so, I ain't gonna say nothing because I don't want to talk too much. Because there's sources and stuff, and y'all be, all I know, Inside Edition picked up the story too. Yeah, Old South True Detective. It is. It's just like that. Old South True Detective. It's not there's some True Detective. It's some weird stuff. And all I know is Sled is talking about, when Jamie Lovegrove went to the building to retrieve information that should be free to the public. Jamie Lovegrove from the Post and Courier went in there to try to get in there and get some information, and they were like, oh no, this building's closed. A state building, y'all. They said, oh no, we're closed to the public. A state building, y'all. So, yeah. They deny access to public records. It's a mess. Inside Edition's on the story. This about to be on Dateline. Well, I will say this. Reporters keep it up. Keep digging. They go down there. They're going to get some. And it's a country. No, even though this family is hugely powerful and they own so many businesses and they own all this, I'm sorry. If the press just needs to keep it up. Press needs to keep it up. I don't know. I'm almost inclined to say they need to put Avery Wilkes on this, but I don't want Avery Wilkes. Steve is great too. Put Avery, Steve, and Jamie Lovegrove on this, because this right here, whew, they need some black people too though. They need some black people that can go to Hole in the Walls and to start some conversations over some whiskey. They really do, and get some information on background. But I ain't even touching it, y'all. I wanted to open up the paper. Let's see if it's on the front page of the paper, then I'm gonna leave it alone for real. Oh wait, I got it right here. That's the front page. Oh wow. That Avery's on this, which he should be. Okay. Yeah. Oh no, it didn't make the front paper again. Yeah, I ain't messing with that family. All right, so we're gonna get into like I started off the show today about food appropriation in Charleston. I'm referencing a show that I did back in 2019. This is what it used to. So when I was on radio, I did a show about cultural appropriation in Charleston's food industry. It was inspired after I was reading a city paper article on a new restaurant. It was new then, that just opened up, called Kinfolk. I will say that, I don't know, there's some of my analysis that I would change, but I think at its core, what I was trying to say, or what inspired this conversation, was I saw the name Kinfolk on a restaurant that was on Johns Island, and then I also saw that this restaurant Kinfolk sold Nashville style hot chicken. So I assumed that it was a black soul food restaurant. And then when I learned that the proprietors were two white James Island natives, I was like, oh, okay. And I did say, I was really proud of myself, because I didn't get crazy about the ownership. It's not about vilifying the brothers who own the restaurant. It was about how do we, when we encounter certain influences, when we encounter certain Steve is one of your favorites. I'm looking at Facebook. Steve is a great reporter. Side note, when we encounter southern certain phrases and things that evoke certain memories, images. It's okay to question that and to question whether or not Black culture if Black culture's influences are also embedded within that, like whatever that that business idea or that whatever that thing is, whatever that commercial entity is. It's okay to question that. And to me, Kinfolk Nashville Hot Chicken, I really just thought it was a Black restaurant. Maybe I'm wrong. I've heard white people use the word kin all the time. Haven't heard white people use the word kinfolk. I referenced that in the podcast. If you want to go back and listen, it's on Apple, should be on Spotify, Google, but you can just literally Google mic'd up on cultural appropriation in Charleston food industry, and you can kind of listen to some of my critique or commentary. I've definitely graduated a little bit in some of the things I espouse, but I was actually proud of myself and how I framed the discussion. And so I want to revisit the things that inspired this conversation. Again, looking through the city paper, seeing this restaurant review, seeing Nashville Hot Chicken, I'm like, hold up. And so and then knowing that y'all know I'm not a fan of Sean Brock, I'm not a fan of white men from Appalachia coming down here and popularizing food that been popular, because we made it popular, but making millions and building entire empires off of Black food and culture. And I also have questions for and this is me talking to Black people right now, so white people but I know that we are due for a longer conversation, a larger cultural conversation. Now, I know a lot of folks don't want to sit down and have a cultural conversation with me per se, but until we convene and have these larger conversations with some of the bigger names in either food culture, within the culinary arts, until we have this larger conversation as a collective, as a Black collective, I'm going to continue to have the conversation or at least pitch it. I'm gonna pitch it, and people can engage with it if they want. They can ignore me if they want. But ultimately, we have to, and I'm speaking directly to Black people right now. We have to, and I referenced this in the opening before we had to restart, we have to be, when being torchbearers, being pioneers, or being trendsetters and trailblazers within Black culture, within Black culinary culture, we do have a responsibility to make sure we don't use the master's tools to build our brands, right? We have to make sure that we don't try to replicate oppressive tendencies or replicate oppressive practices in our effort to navigate this thing where we are going to be tokenized. We are going to be tokenized and asked to contribute to or lead discussions about food and culture. And these are deeply political food and culture, no matter whether or not you're doing it over a beer or at a crab crack or, or a low country boil. No matter what the setting is, these are deeply political conversations. And we as torchbearers and maybe even gatekeepers, we have to assume a certain level of I don't know. We have to just make sure that we're not trying to copy and paste what the Buckra done been doing, because that's not going to serve us well, and also too that will just lead to our inevitable demise if we do that. If we move how the Buckra and how white power structures move, we're just going to kill ourselves. We're participating in our own demise, right? So I'm gonna go to the video that sparked this whole conversation. Shout out to Davita Davison. She had this conversation. This was from let me go back. What year was this? This 2019, 2017, 2016. 2016. I found this as I was in the library reading the story about the Kinfolk restaurant. Again, not vilifying Kinfolk, not saying boycott Kinfolk, saying that cultural references made me think. Word association, Kinfolk, hot chicken, Black. Oh no, wait, hold up. Okay, and how that is a pattern you'll see throughout on the peninsula. Leon's is over here. No, okay, Leon's is not Black owned. Okay, all right. Like you'll start seeing things that you feel are Black on the peninsula in the food space, and you find out, oh, hold up, that's the white boy from Boston. Oh, okay. Oh, you serving. Oh, you serving chitlins? Like, we've had those conversations. We've had those moments of reckoning. Anyway, so this conversation made me think about it. So, and food is Black food. So Southern soul food is deeply political. Don't let anyone tell you that it's not political. It's extraordinarily political. Y'all can hear it, right? I can hear it. It's like,
I'm gonna make you a little bit hungry through my presentation, if you don't mind. But let me just say this. When Kentucky Fried Chicken created this dish that was inspired by one of Nashville's most iconic dishes, Andre Prince Jeffries, Queen Mother,
yes, same facade,
founder and owner of Prince's Hot Chicken Shacks, was quoted as saying this: "Lord have mercy." It really has come full circle. Since decades ago, Kentucky Fried Chicken asked my great uncle, could they buy his hot chicken recipe? Let me tell you a story about Andre Prince Jeffries' great uncle. Back in the 1930s, during the Great Depression, there was a man by the name of James Thornton Prince. Ooh, he was a tall, good-looking, handsome man, a ladies' man, people would say. Well, let me tell you, one of his lady friends got really upset with him, got tired of his philandering ways, and she wanted retribution because James had stayed out all night and he came home wanting breakfast. So she did what any woman would do. She fried him some chicken.
Come on now.
And she looked in the kitchen and found all the spiciest items that she could find. No one knows what went in that first batch of chicken, but she spiced that chicken to what she thought was going to be beyond edible.
That's what I would do.
But she was surprised. When James sat down at the breakfast table and took a bite of the chicken, she prepared herself. Would he be mad? Would he whimper? Would he stomp out? What would he do? But James took a bite of that chicken, and he loved it. He loved it so much, he took it to his brothers, and his brothers loved it. And as the story goes, the woman is no longer in James's life. She disappeared, but her idea of hot chicken lived on forever. And the Prince brothers went on to create the barbecue chicken shack. James went on to run that chicken shack. James's brother, after James died, Willie, he went on to run that chicken shack. And when Willie died, his wife Maud went on to run that chicken shack.
Shout out Maud.
And in the 1980s, when it was time for a new generation of princes to run the chicken shack, great Aunt Maud asked this woman, Andre Prince Jeffries, to run the family business.
Hail to the queen. Hail to the queen.
The first thing she did when she took over the business is she renamed it Prince's Hot Chicken Shack. So let's be very clear here, and it's important for me to tell you this story because I want you to remember that hot chicken was created, invented, and locally popularized by Prince's Hot Chicken Shack.
Okay, so you get why I thought like I might assume that there's like some black ownership over a restaurant that served Nashville hot chicken, right? Like I ain't right. Good morning, hey Amethyst.
It's important to know that 80 years later, there's a wave of what I call second wave hot chicken joints that's opening all over the world.
Come on.
You guys have one right here in New York City. In Brooklyn, you have what's called Peach's Hot House. In LA, they have something that's called Howling Ray's. In Columbus, Ohio, they have Hot Chicken Takeover. In Australia, they have Bell's Hot Chicken. And right in Prince's hometown.
Look at this one.
In Nashville, Tennessee.
Come on.
They have Hattie B's Hot Chicken. And I think it's really important for you all to know that hot chicken, particularly in the African-American community, was more than just about eating chicken. Going to Prince's in Nashville, Tennessee was almost like a pilgrimage. It was a rite of passage. It was a badge of honor to go there and eat hot chicken. So you all can imagine how taken aback I was, how surprised I was when Food Republic published this article in August that said, meet the man who launched the Nashville hot chicken craze. And I thought, oh, really? Are they about to do an article about James Thornton Prince? Because he's the man who launched hot chicken. But as I began to read the subtext, it says, John Lasseter of the famous Hattie B's on the past, the present, and the future of hot chicken. And
I bet y'all can find a piece of Sean Brock is featured just like John Lasseter, getting credit for black dishes, black food culture. I bet you can find some sort of write-up that does the same type of violent ass harm as this lazy writer did right here, who doesn't know their history and doesn't do their homework or their due diligence. Who's the writer? Sorry, George in Barracos. Sorry, it's mad lazy.
And ladies and gentlemen, this bothers me for a couple of reasons. It bothers me because I don't think that white voices should be centered around a dish that was created, invented, launched, and made popularized by black businesses 80 years ago. It bothers me because I don't think this article goes deep enough. It does not explain the fundamental reason why Hattie B's, and I'm not begrudging them for their success. I think their business is great.
Absolutely.
But I think it's really important for us to realize the fundamentals of why a Hattie B's is perceived as being famous, and in many cases more successful than the chicken joints that are owned by African-American businesses. That's where I think this article missed out. You see, what folks fail to realize is that when entrepreneurs of African-American descent, particularly around food, have major expertise of creating a dish like hat chicken. And I'm gonna add to that list now collard greens, since Neiman Marcus wanted to sell them for $66 a bowl, plus $15 shipping and handling.
Oh yeah, Justin.
I'm gonna go ahead and add collard greens to the dish too.
Justin,
but when African-American entrepreneurs don't grow rich from that dish, it's not because Hattie B's brought in a chef like John Lasseter. It's not because he went to culinary school and his chicken tastes any better. There's a couple of reasons why. The first reason why it's still pretty hard for black folks to go to culinary school.
Come on.
And when they go, you can then go out and leverage and get the respect and recognition. It's still really hard for black folks to get access to bank loans so they can open up hot chicken joints in locations that are desirable and high traffic and prime time locations. And more importantly, I don't want you all to forget this. It's really hard for entrepreneurs of color to get access into networks that have mentors, that have industry expertise to help them create a business model that's scalable. Hattie B's had that.
Yep, you did, Amethyst.
Hattie B's had the model.
Yep.
That's the reason why. What they have? They had the location. They were able to open up prime location in bustling neighborhoods in Nashville where there were designation places with other restaurants. Hattie B's was able to bring on a John Lasseter, right? A recognized chef who graduated from culinary school, one right here in the city of New York, the French Culinary Institute. And he was recognized just recently by Forbes Food and Wine as one of the top chefs 30 under 30. Hattie B's had the money to invest in a PR and marketing campaign so they can create a powerful brand and spread the message of their business as they prepare to expand all over the southeastern region of the country. And more importantly, Hattie B's had the foresight and also the resources to create a team, because I can tell you this much, I know for sure. The founder of Hattie B's, I'm sure he benefited from his father's knowledge. I'm sure he benefited from his father's resources. I'm sure he benefited from his father's expertise, because his father was the previous CEO of a company by the name of Morrison's. And at the time that he was the CEO of Morrison's, he acquired and was able to grow a very little restaurant out of Knoxville, Tennessee called Ruby Tuesdays. That's it.
Mic drop. Mic drop. I just got caught up. That was church for me. I was going to cut it off much earlier, but this is the kind of conversation, right? Like, this is the conversations we need to have about these white, either white power structure, white men. We definitely know there are white men here that run the culinary world here in Charleston, and if not white adjacent or non-black POC, right? But these men, they're not black, is my point. These are not black people running the scene. There's a reason why BJ Dennis doesn't get the same kind of structural support that someone else will do. There are so many factors, right, why we don't see certain names and people who've been out here grinding for generations. Why Sally Ann from DeFusky, why she does not have a flagship restaurant in Charleston or name the major city in South Carolina is beyond me. It's beyond me. And why she's doing things, and this is not shade or shame, but why she has to do things like crowdsource funding to help repair her restaurant, her establishment. There's a reason behind it. And I think it's okay to have a frank and honest conversation about whiteness and its relationship to our food and our culture, right? I think it's very important to have those conversations. centering black people, and it's and calling out the chicanery, right? I'm trying to curse less. I was gonna say the F word. Calling out the chicanery, and also breaking down how these things occurred. They don't just happen, right? Sean Brock didn't just happen. And Justin, to your point, I think we all love Anthony Bourdain. But that episode pissed me off. That episode, I was like, okay. I was like, oh, I'm like, what is this going on? This bro fest. And it's like, and so that the Sean Brock episode and other like entertainment like that emerges from this region. I know I'm hopping all over the place, but like that just continues to cement the idea that black food is nothing without white approval, without white white people anointing it and saying, hey, this is legitimate, this is important, without the white gaze, right? And we're trying to say no, black food was bomb. And the other part of this that we didn't cover, I'm gonna show you the article. What up, Blue Barina? Thank you for following. One thing, so also, like I started off by the city paper was one thing about the hot chicken, right? Again, not bashing kinfolk. I just want to say that. Okay. But so reading about kinfolk and their hot chicken, right? Two white dudes who went to a culinary school, right? Went off and came back. And then I read this article super quick. The family business that put Nashville hot chicken on the map. And this was in the New Yorker. Yup, this is 2019. And if you can't read it real quick, you can go ahead and listen to it. But this piece right here was amazing. And it taught me more about the hot chicken and its origins. Now, we heard the story of how the hot chicken recipe came to be, but its popularity, the original black families, the princes in them, the popularity that emerged, it started in Jim Crow. This was a privately held, closely guarded secret for the large part that hadn't reached mainstream up until, I guess you would say, like, years and years after its invention, after its creation, rather. But because of Jim Crow, because of segregation, this was something that was just privately held within black communities in this area. And so that's the other thing. Like, so this is very political. Right? The reason why the hot chicken, there was a mystique that was able to brew over years, over generations, due to white supremacy. But the mystique and the hearsay and the rumors about how great and how, this chicken is like, this chicken, it's not easy to eat. I'm a punk. I can't even eat too much stuff that's peppery, right? Like I'm a punk. Twin brother can knock it out. I think he'd eat hot chicken. And plus he's married to, his wife is Indian. So my brother and his wife, they'll eat the hell out of some hot chicken. But it's a challenge to eat. And so people will find this chicken to be, tough to eat. They had different varieties, different levels of heat, all of that, right? And so that legend began to grow and over time, and because of Jim Crow, because it wasn't in the mainstream. And then here come, white folk Columbus in it, right? It ain't real until they discover it. And instead of what I see here in Charleston, what I see throughout the world is when white folks or when the white dominant culture makes contact with something, with a phenomenal either product, spice, food, cultural expression, whatever it is, they tend to just take it and want to commodify it and not ever really pay homage to the architects or the inventors, the innovators behind that art form. They want to commodify it, and they want to make money. They want to blow it up and create that marketing team that Davita Davidson referenced. They want to do all of that. As opposed to really trying to build out a culture and really pay homage to the culture. I wanted to go into some other, let me see. So we listened to that. I want to again tell y'all, go check out this story written by Paige Williams in the New Yorker. And I want to say there was some other, like what I want to see more. Shout out to Ranger Barr, the homie right here is my homie. I want to say that I was talking about, hey Jazz on Facebook. I was talking about how our torchbearers of the culture would behoove them to take a little time, take a beat, and to really leverage the voice of Black women. Y'all know that I'm a big proponent of that. Recently, the City Paper, this got brought to my attention by Hannah Raskin. Shout out Hannah Raskin. But Hannah Raskin brought to my attention that City Paper did a write up. And I went in and I did my own reading, and seeing that there was a discussion about veganism, but it didn't include any Black women, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, wait, how I know at least two vegan chefs in Charleston that are Black. I know at least two. And others who are either eat off the land, like part of like maybe a slow food movement, or like something like that. So it was really interesting. So I think that some of our torchbearers from within the culture, I'm speaking directly to Black people again, some of our torchbearers from within the culture, it would behoove you to really build out when you do come, when the folks come a calling or you go to pitch your idea. It's okay to leverage. It's okay to like. To bring in strong Black women's voices, especially strong Black women scholars. And I'm going to suggest, there's a couple of books I'm going to tell y'all to read. I'm going to suggest that you read. And I've already lifted it up on a previous Mic'd Up episode. I've lifted up the scholarship of Dr. Etta Dr. Etta Fields Black. She came down to the the Johns Island branch of the Charleston County Public Library. She gave a speech 2 years ago, I think, about the Combahee River raid. She's still writing the book from what I understand, but she wrote an amazing book too. She contributed to two published pieces about rice and how, let me see if I can pull up, the names of this. So this is Dr. Etta Fields Black, right? And this is just her bio. Dr. Fields Black is a specialist in the transnational, I love this, in the transnational of West African rice farmers, peasant farmers, and pre-colonial Upper Guinea Coast, and enslaved laborers on rice plantations in the South Carolina and Georgia Low Country during the antebellum period, right? So the books that you want to look into, or the published works you want to look into, Deep Roots, Rice Farmers in West Africa and the African Diaspora, look for that one. Look for this one, Rice, Global Networks, and New Histories, right? So that's published. And the one that I heard her present about, but that was not complete, and I still don't think it's published yet, was this book, the forthcoming Harriet Tubman and the Combahee River Raid and the Gullah Geechee Transformation. Not necessarily about rice, but rice plantations are mentioned in it. But it's really, really, it was an amazing presentation. It's on YouTube, the Charleston County Public Libraries. It's on YouTube. I've referenced it before. It's amazing. But wouldn't it be great if voices like Dr. Etta Fields Black were asked to contribute to these conversations? Wouldn't it be great if the scholarship of someone like her was brought in to talk about the political nature of a lot of these foods that become commodified here in Charleston, right? Another strong voice, I think that folks, she gonna kill me if I volunteer her. I'm not gonna volunteer her, but I'm just gonna reference her work. She's a close friend of mine. And we're gonna get to this in a second, I think. Well, let's before I get to my friend, let's play a little bit. Again, shout out to Chris Barr, Ranger Chris.
University. Dr. Fields Black is one of the leading scholars on African-American experience here in the South Carolina Low Country. Much of her previous work deals with rice and the cultural connections between West Africa and here in the Low Country. But her current project that we're going to talk a little bit about today is entitled Combahee, Harriet Tubman, the Combahee River Raid, and the Gullah Geechee Transformation. So first off, Professor, thank you for...
What I like about this, when she presented, what I like about some of the things that she talks about, I'm not going to play this because it's not about rice and not about food, but I wanted you to hear her, go check it out. It's on Facebook. Is that she complicates, I think, our perceptions of not just Gullah Geechee, the dialect, the language, but she complicates our ideas around... I would say more so the language and how folks how they communicate it. She really just goes really in depth, and talks about certain societies. I think your ideas and notions around Black indigeneity will be challenged a little bit, and I love it. It's very thoughtful, and it really just like it really just like made me like, whoa. Like gave me whiplash and made me rethink things based on her scholarship. And she had in it was a PowerPoint presentation. She had copies of the historical texts and pages that she was able to uncover over the years of her research. And so it was irrefutable, the argument she was making, and she didn't draw any conclusions. Because she's a historian, she only deals in fact. So she only asserts what she could confirm through her research. And I thought that was very powerful. So I'm inviting you all to go there. But I want to lift up another voice, a friend of mine, because she's doing dope shit in Colleton County. She's doing amazing things in Colleton County. Saving Facade, you said your family always pronounced it Cumbee. Yes, so you were confused when you saw it. Yes, that's how we pronounce it colloquially. And that's what I had to learn that here. Because I've heard it a couple times 2 different ways and wasn't sure. But a lot of families pronounce it as Cumbee. Absolutely, right. And her scholarship goes into that. Justin, you said Chris kind of looks like John Krasinski. He does. I like John Krasinski. He does. Somebody said something earlier that I wanted to chime in. Oh, Same Facade, when you made that Bobby Caldwell joke, I tried not to laugh so hard because I seriously didn't learn that a man was Black until I was in my late 20s. Yeah. Oh, okay. Are you so happy you found, new follower? I'm happy you're here. So let's play my friend Michelle Perry. Michelle is down in Colleton County, down in Walterboro. Just an amazing mind. Just super generous and super thoughtful. And I won't go into detail about our private conversations, but I will say that we were able to have these conversations about how white folks engage with Black culture in Charleston, and a lot of the things that I pursue so doggedly, they start with a conversation with folks like Michelle, and they send me on this journey, sends me right to the books, sends me right to the library, sends me right to scholarly research to kind of understand why whiteness engages us the way it does, and why some of us willingly participate in some chicanery. Whenever I say chicanery, I'm trying not to say the F word. I'm not trying not to say effery because I think I say it too much. All right, chicanery.
I'm Michelle Perry, and I'm inviting some of my favorite chefs over to build a low country Juneteenth.
So Michelle was tapped by Food Network to spearhead this project. We're going to play the whole thing. It's 5 minutes. We're going to play it. You missed the F word? It's my Nicorette. It's my Nicorette, chicanery.
The celebration of freedom and heritage. Today I'm making a special appetizer, and then I'm meeting up with Sneakereves to make a special cocktail for my Juneteenth menu. Juneteenth is a commemoration of the announcement of emancipation in Galveston, Texas on June 19, 1865. 2 years, 6.5 months after the Emancipation Proclamation, many communities adopted Juneteenth and added their own freedom celebration traditions. And no celebration is complete without food.
Juneteenth is the beginning of cookout season and family reunion season.
Black Southern
I'm
Belle.
making an easy recipe for outside, Bennett's Point shrimp and sausage. I'm gonna start with muscadine wine. It's one of my childhood memories, growing up picking muscadines in my grandfather's vineyard. They made my lips itch. They don't anymore, but I still have that memory. This is homemade, made easy, which is my specialty because I have 2 little kids, and although I love cooking, I do not have time. Your favorite local honey, because who doesn't like a little bit of sweet and savory? I'm gonna reserve a 1/4 cup to the side. I'm gonna use the rest for basting my shrimp. I like to start off with a little bit of shrimp. Next, the sausage. Roger Wood sausage is pretty much a tradition.
Roger Wood sausage, y'all.
Every kid grows up making it with rice when they're like 5. It's like the first.
I might
meal you
fast
learn to
forward
make.
it to the next
When I
chefs,
grew
but let's
up,
see.
you
We'll
shrimp
see.
stands up and down the road.
No, it's only 5 minutes.
Every day, shrimp and grits is like a very normal occurrence. It wasn't until I left the Low Country that I even knew shrimp was like a delicacy or something fancy. Just a the last one.
All right, let's pause it real quick. So fact, shrimp and grits has its roots in both Native American and West African cultures, which converged in coastal regions like the Gullah Geechee corridor. Very important, y'all. One thing about Michelle, if she's talking about anything food, if she's talking about anything culturally specific, she's got the region down to got it down. Like, she's not gonna have you talking about barbecue in Colleton. She's not gonna be talking about that. She's gonna talk about the muscadine grit. She's gonna talk about the shrimp. She's gonna talk about the Roger with sausages. Those things are very specific. And I think sometimes folks will just pull, like when those candidates come down, me and Michelle had this conversation. This ain't privileged information. When those politicians will come down, right? Like Kamala Harris or Cory Booker or any other like lane moderate, when they would come down and eat, how on the campaign trail, what did they eat? Did they eat hot dogs at the county fair? For some reason, whenever they come to Charleston, y'all ain't crab cracking with them. I know that could be messy on camera, but there's a way to help them. Like, they never do crab cracks. They never do boils. They never do anything that's specific to like the Low Country. They only do barbecue. We're not Tennessee and North Carolina. Like, especially when you come to Charleston and y'all not serving them like coastal fare. It's really weird. And like me and Michelle and I would have these conversations because it's weird to see like people kind of like think that, oh, soul food is it's just fried chicken and barbecue chicken. No, it's not. Always Roger with sausage. Always. In the deep freeze. If you got a deep freeze, say something in the chat. If you got a deep freeze, if you got 2 refrigerators, maybe even 3. If you got 2 refrigerators and a deep freeze, say something. Or if your granny had 2 refrigerators and deep freeze in the garage or the carport, say something. Let me let it play. I'm talking too much.
These are done. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what drink Tanika makes to go with this appetizer. Tanika, I have my appetizer
Cocktail bandits.
For my Juneteenth menu down packed. I am ready for you to give me the perfect cocktail to go with it. Can you tell me a little bit more about what's going on with this drink? Something that I can tell some of my guests who are coming over about what they're drinking.
It was very inspired by Juneteenth, and I just thought about what colors I wanted. I know that red was very historical and very symbolic of the holidays. I wanted to do something with hibiscus, and I had to add the Uncle Nearest whiskey, honey.
Come on.
Nearest Scream taught the Jack Daniel family how to make whiskey, and Tennessee whiskey in particular, the way that it is made today.
I'm gonna get these shrimp on the grill.
Okay.
Oh, did y'all see that?
We have a glaze with.
Did y'all see that?
I'm gonna get these shrimp on the.
You see that? Some enslaved Africans brought distilling skills with them to the colonies and the United States. Somebody go tap, what we call him? Keto Beer Ken. Tap Keto Beer Ken. The next time he goes to a brewery or distillery and tell him that. Tell him to incorporate that in one of his brewery stops. Somebody do it.
Grill. Okay. We have a glaze with it that has muscadine, local honey, 3-4 minutes on each side. Tanika, show me how to make this delicious cocktail.
You told me it takes about 4 minutes on each side. It's gonna take about 4 minutes to make this really easy cocktail as well.
Come through.
Start off with our Uncle Nearest, our wonderful Tennessee whiskey. You can actually use any Tennessee whiskey, but we're using Uncle Nearest with this one just to really show love to Juneteenth. We're gonna add our hibiscus syrup. You know, a little floral, a little sweet. Pineapple juice, it's gonna give us a little bit of acidity, but more sweet. Lemon juice, it's gonna brighten up the cocktail. We are just gonna add some ice because it is warm out here. We wanna chill.
All right, let's read this. Black men were often favored bartenders and mixologists in exclusive men's clubs and hotels pre-prohibition. See, yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Black men were favored. This part, we're gonna talk about that before we close it out today. And why Uncle Ben is on the box.
You gotta put a little bit of hilt action in. Once it's frosted, we open it up. Beautiful purplish red color. And we take our ginger beer and we're just gonna add some effervescence.
Yeah.
We like to call these cocktails
I see
porch
you,
pounders
Amethyst.
because you can sit on the porch and have one or more.
No one's counting.
No one's counting, exactly. We're gonna top them with a candied hibiscus flower. We like to dress up our
Ooh,
cocktails
I never heard of
because
that.
we love accessories. And we're gonna take our mint.
I'm such a tomboy. I
We're
would
gonna
never do
slap
this.
it so we can open up the natural oils.
You definitely have to bruise that. I know that. Like you gotta.
And here we go.
This is fancy.
The shrimp looks good. The cocktails look delicious. Let's go have some fun on the porch. Cheers. Delicious.
Thank you.
This making me just as hungry as Davita was making me with this damn with that hot chicken. I don't even like. I wouldn't want a spicy chicken, but that chicken conversation made me hungry for real. So like this is I think there are going to be a series of these conversations. The Juneteenth menu. Oh, let me see. It's a whole playlist. Look at me. Oh, not yet. Okay, not right now. Okay.
I'm Michelle Perry.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to the Juneteenth playlist. We know Juneteenth is right around the corner. Shout out to my friend Michelle. I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud that she brought in one thing. Again, the not privileged conversation, not privileged information from our conversation. One thing we continuously talk about is like, where are the black women? How come Michelle Perry can find all the black women damn near in the whole like low country or Gullah Geechee corridor? She can find all the black women, and it's women that you never like you might not know of or you just hear about here and there. How she can find them, but yet when it comes to like the City Paper or the Post and Courier, why is it difficult for these institutions to find them? And I mean the short answer, the more convenient and sloppy answer, and I'm gonna offer up, is they don't give a damn, right? They don't really care. So check out this. Keep your eyes peeled for the Food Network Juneteenth menu series. I'm super proud of Michelle and of Tanika and the Cocktail Bandits. It's a good look, and it's worth celebration. And I just love seeing black women feature. Who's this? Charlotte Jenkins. I love seeing this. Excuse me. I keep drinking carbonated water and all I do is belch on air. Sorry about that. It's not ladylike. So I'm gonna close that out. Wanted to get to how you saw that one little factoid about black men being preferred bartenders. That comes from when I talked about the food appropriation in Charleston. I referenced several books. The Cooking Gene book is very popular, Michael Twitty, right? But there was another book that knocked my socks off. Of course, it's the work of Dr. Fields Black, right? That's important. But this book right here, and I didn't get to finish it. Let me close it. I didn't want it to play. Bound to the Fire: How Virginia's Enslaved Cooks Helped Invent American Cuisine. And there were a couple other books. High on the Hog, I just got introduced to that because of the Netflix special, right? High on the Hog is another book. Shout out to Amethyst for putting me on to the author. Didn't know how critical this book was in the culinary world. So Jessica B. Harris, I didn't know that. And so it's a Netflix special. I do encourage you all to watch all of it, not just the Charleston episode. Can't play it because I'll get a copyright knock if I play it on Twitch. But High on the Hog is one. But let me go back to this book right here. This book helped me understand how black cooks were used, how black cooks like what it was like to be a black cook, how cooking on labor camps, that's what we call plantations here, cooking on labor camps, how that was so labor intensive, how it was so hot, and a lot of people didn't want it, but didn't want that job, and you had some cooks running away, quite often because it was grueling work. But there were some cooks who assumed the role and used the mobility that came with being a trusted cook. So that means if you were a cook on a labor camp, you were able, with your slave badge that was originated here in Charleston, you were able to traverse the area, go to the market, pick up supplies. You had a different ability to remain mobile, and that helped folks carry messages. And going back to Dr. Fields Black, she talks about how folks got word about the Combahee River Raid. They got word that Harriet was on her way, and white folks were mystified. Like, how do they know this? We tell them they can't read. We tell them they can't write. We whip them and we kill them. And we torture them when we find out that they do try to read and write and educate themselves. What do they do? Well, while we were in bondage, we practiced resistant bondage. How did we do that? We learned how to read, regardless of that, right? We learned how to read. We learned how to communicate, and cooks would carry messages. So when they would go to market, they would carry message to either neighboring plantations, or there were certain meetups. There were all these different like subversive ways that folks communicated back then. And it's really fascinating to me to find out all these ways that depending on what labor you produced, as an enslaved individual, it would come with some sort of perhaps it may have come with an ability to communicate with others or to I don't know, it was just fascinating. But this book was really interesting. I didn't get to finish it because I had overdue books, and but she also talks about the images, like that's why I clicked on it. She talks about the Aunt Jemima, right? And so I'm gonna blow this up a little bit. All right, I'm gonna blow this up a little bit. Oh, can you? Is okay. Bound. Yeah, I'm gonna blow it up a little bit so you can see. I see what. Thank y'all for helping her out. Yeah, bound to the fire, and thank you, Jessica. All right, so I'm gonna read this little caption right. Damn, Amazon, I'll buy it. Damn. Okay. I just roll over it. Okay. In grocery store aisles and kitchens across the country, smiling images of Aunt Jemima and other historical and fictional Black cooks can be found on various food products and in advertising. Although these images are sanitized and romanticized in American popular culture, they represent the untold stories of enslaved. I have my neighbors upstairs and scaring the shit out of me. I'm sorry, it was a big thud. I don't even know if y'all heard that. It was huge. All right, they represent the untold stories of enslaved men and women who had a significant impact on the nation's culinary and hospitality traditions, even as they were forced to prepare food for their food for their oppressors, right? So I thought this book was really fascinating because it talked about the Jemima character. It talked about the Rastus character. So the Rastus character would be like your Uncle Ben or the guy on the cream of wheat, right? And I think what I'm going to do is, I think that's it, right? Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and switch my view up. And yeah. Okay. So, because I want to bring it full circle. So that book was what it helped me formulate was my opinions around blackness in the culinary realm, and how white folks tend to engage with us. And the Rastus and the Aunt Jemima character, because their culinary expertise just was revered. It was commodified. It was exploited, right? This labor was exploited, but it was revered, and folks trusted these cooks because these are the people that fed entire plantations, fed entire wealthy families for generations, right? So there was a level of trust offered to the folks who performed this labor, and that then turned into those mascot-like figures like the Aunt Jemimas and whatnot. My point is saying all of that in this last little bit of minutes is that we have the reason why they turn us into mascots and romanticize, what it was like to be an enslaved man or woman or person cooking this food. The reason why they do it is to anesthetize us. And it also severs our relationship to the culinary world. It doesn't put us in right relationship with that work. I think we grow up feeling as if this is demeaning work. We grow up thinking that and we've seen these depictions in media and in movies, right, of Black cooks and Black mammies performing these very reductive roles in society, and it really doesn't foster a love of the culture. And of course, many of us know that wasn't true. many of us grew up and say, no, this is amazing. These biscuits that my granny taught me to make, or picking these blackberries and turning them into a preserve or some sort of dish, okay. Somebody going on? Oh wait, we says okay. I'm sorry. Did anything happen? Amethyst, you came back. Okay, you came back. Okay, I thought something happened to my feed. Yeah. So a lot of us have made our way to the culture. A lot of us made our way back to the food, to the love, to its origins. Went back. We got back to the heritage and the pride, right? Even though that connection was severed between us and our culture, and it was presented to us as something that was demeaning and akin to just being exploited, right? If you look at like things like movies like Driving Miss Daisy, or I don't even want to rattle off a bunch of like movies that had a problematic themes around black servitude, right? But we were raised to really feel as if like performing this work wasn't the art form that it is. And I think, especially here in Charleston, because we have never really reckoned with our history, because the white power structure within the tourism and food and beverage industry specifically, because they rather just commodify and they rather just do simple things like, oh, we'll just have representation, we'll host a black event, and not really create systems or structures, or help to create systems and structures that create that that improve our relationship, right? And I'm not asking for white folks to be paternalistic and do things for us, but there's a way for white folks to work to dismantle these systems instead of continuously profiting off of our pain and trauma. And that's the issue I had. I fired off some tweets yesterday. I didn't really think about it like that. I got a couple of calls, got a couple of texts and emails. I'm gonna go to it real quick. I said it publicly, so I don't throw a stone and hide my hand at all. This is the second tweet after I found out about the City Paper. City Paper wrote this whole piece on veganism and didn't include one black woman. And then Michelle put this on my radar. So CVB bought a bunch of ads. You see how they're prepping for the museum that ain't even open yet. But CVB placed a number of ads in Essence, talking about Essence. Now, Essence magazine is for black women. That's what I was raised on. It was. So CVB paid all this money to have these ads running. I'm not going to show you the ad, but Essence Black City Guide, the soul of Charleston. Not one black woman was included in the ad. Not one black woman, right? Continuously telling us that we don't exist and that our contributions are invalid. That's what I get from that. So that was shame on you, City Paper, for that omission. And CVB, we already know how you do. We already know. And I keep calling out the City Paper. I keep calling out CVB. They refuse to engage with me. But it's so funny. I'm gonna say this, and I hope folks do know this. CVB and all you other like trusted institutions who have heard my critique or my criticism and have never engaged me thoughtfully or meaningfully beyond like a retweet or something like that. Just know that your faves share their exchanges with you, with me. Those who can't say anything, share your emails and your DMs with me. We talk about it actively, about how you will listen to a black man over the criticisms of someone like myself, right? We talk about that. I just want CVB. Y'all probably know that. I know. Again, going back to the conversation about how the black people spread word about the Combahee River raid, we talk. Even if we not ace boom coon, we talk. We share information, right? And so I just need the CVB to know that. So like I know what you're proposing with this creator or this influencer. I know what you're trying to do with this person. I know about the unanswered calls, right? I know like about what goes on behind the scenes with you, Publication X, and what you will and won't do, right? I know, I see it. So when somebody else, when a black male artist calls y'all out, it's a DM, can we talk? or when I ran social media for a prominent black male artist and I levied some criticisms through him or with him. Oh, can we schedule a lunch? I see how it is. There's something about black women challenging, breaking through that mammy, that Jemima, that stereotype, and really challenging y'all on your chicanery. Really, really F's with your brain. Like, it really does. Like, I didn't even show y'all anything. I didn't even show any. I'm up here going through my tweets and didn't even show y'all. I'm sorry. I do that a lot. I do this a lot. I talk about things and I'm not even showing y'all. I'm sorry about that. All right. So, okay. So this is what I was talking. This is what I was talking about. I'm a mess. This is what I was talking about. Yeah, black women in food culture. Sorry if I wasn't showing it to y'all. Do y'all telling me to do that? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Y'all gotta help me out. Mika, we can't see. All right. So that's what I was talking about. CVB's ad and the City Paper's story on veganism without any black women contributions, right? All right, let me go back. I want to get that one tweet and I want to show y'all this. I'm always doing that. It's weird. Okay, we talked about Keto Bear Ken. Let me see. Okay, so I said this too, and I know this is kind of controversial. I know it's kind of controversial, but I'm not afraid of like, no one says anything. Charleston's like the most polite city in the world. Like, that's one distinction that the CVB don't have to pay for. We just, like, people just really are polite, and I get that's a Southern thing, but I'm a little impolite. So I levied this because I had some reactions to some programming, but it really wasn't even about some programming from Butcher and B. It wasn't even really about that. And again, I want to reference what I said earlier. I want to be very careful on how I approach this, because I'm not telling y'all to avoid Butcher and B. I'm not telling y'all to boycott Butcher and B. I'm not telling you that Butcher and B is evil. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is that as a black woman in Charleston, right, what I don't see enough of publicly, and so this is why I fire off tweets like this, is a challenging of these of these organizations in this space. So if they are going to launch a series, granted, I think the creator of the series has more ownership than they do, because the creator of the series was black. But if they're going to launch a series of programming in and around black culture and black food culture, I think there's a level of responsibility there. Now, again, I want to say that the creator of the actual event holds most of the responsibility. But what I see with Butcher and B is that I'm making observations about where the niche that they've carved out politically here in Charleston. And I think it would be an error in judgment to think that their positioning, especially when it comes to proximity to black influencers, black food culture, or just black people, their proximity, their, Butcher and B and their other properties, I guess, or spaces have hosted a number of political events, right, that are left-leaning, you would say. So they've created a certain niche, and I think that warrants a closer look. And so I didn't mind. I tagged them intentionally. I wanted all the smoke. I'm okay. But I've got some serious questions about, I may have some serious observations about Butcher and B. Been sitting on them for a while, like a long while, for real, since Women's March. Real talk, since Women's March. So we're talking about what? Way back, since Women's March days. Been sitting on some of these observations, and I'm seeing how intentionally and thoughtfully they are being about becoming political players here. And I think when you talk about those political ambitions of this major food group, this major food player in culinary world, when you talk about what that means, like their political prowess, when you talk about their political heft, their power building, and then you talk about black people in food spaces, oh yeah, you're definitely going to get more scrutiny. We're not going to rubber stamp everything because you are sidled up next to a left-leaning politician. That's not enough, right? I need to know I'm looking closer at how you move and what events you actually greenlight and what things you stand behind. And that's what I'm paying attention to. I'm also trying to understand what the motivations are, right? Right. So that's what I was trying to do, is start to initiate a conversation. They responded. Initiate a conversation around how we let these powerful businesses engage with black culture, right? Non-black POC or white adjacent or white business ownership. How do we look closer at about what events that they do promote? What events did they do that they green light? Right, and what events they don't, which black voices they show up for, and which ones they don't. And oftentimes you just don't see black women's representation in these spaces. But shout out to Michelle Perry and so many Amethyst, the Cocktail Bandits, Elena Roof, aka Treat God. So many other people pop up in these spaces, and people lift up all these other black women in these spaces and disrupt that. But when you have a powerful figure like Butcher and B, it's okay to ask questions like, what are your ambitions? So what are you going to do with this power? The fact that the Biden administration can call you up and not just get one, get two or three, get two or three uses of your space at a moment, like how does that happen? Joe Biden doesn't just show up at Butcher and B or workshop, right, on multiple occasions. That doesn't just happen, right? What does that mean? Right. So, and what does it mean going forward when you are trying to build out programs? And how are you supporting the black culinary space more materially as well? Right. So it's not an indictment. Like we're not killing folks. Like I'm not killing folks, but it's okay to question why kinfolk name their restaurant kinfolk and why they serve a Nashville hot chicken. It's okay to ask that question. It's okay to be black and be woman and ask that question. And I'm trying to normalize that. I'm trying to normalize discourse that's not always polite. I really think that that's okay to do that. Right. It's okay. It's okay to ask these questions and ask them publicly. I feel the value. There's a value in doing it publicly because I'm gonna be real with y'all. No one else is out on that block. So it's real estate. It's uninhabited real estate. No one else is on that block. I'm gonna take that corner because nobody else is doing it. And it's not so much of me just firing off these verbal Molotov cocktails. It's like, yo, why nobody, like, I get the polite thing, and I feel like I ain't said shit for years about any of these major food groups here, right? Outside of Sean Brock, right? Because he ain't even from here. But like, I haven't said anything for you. To me, I feel like I've practiced restraint, but it's just I've seen, given the reaction, I've seen how unusual it is to question these players, just even question it. I'm not saying the response was like crazy, but it just was interesting how they react, right? The reaction is. But I will also say that I fired off another tweet. Yeah, they did respond. I hope my response to them is going to be check out this broadcast. My other, let me see, other tweet I made. Where is it at? Why can't I find my green? I made another tweet about rice being deeply political. Right here. So yeah, rice in South Carolina is deeply political. Rice in South Carolina is black. Exploited black labor revolutionized rice cultivation in the South, and made many white families obscenely wealthy. They're still getting rich off of some of us, and that was the sub. Only because I got subbed a few months ago by the person, so I subbed them back. Some of y'all is complicit. That was a sub. I don't lie, and I'm not afraid. Like, I'm not trying to fight nobody. I'm just saying some of y'all still getting rich, some of y'all complicit in the chicanery, and I think it's okay. To me, black people have always publicly disagreed. This whole we supposed to lift each other, that's bullshit. Booker T. Washington and Ida B. Wells had smoke all day for each other, right? Like, come on, W.E.B. Du Bois is out here like giving dark-skinned black women hell. Okay, like let's stop with the, like, it's okay to disagree publicly with someone. Now, I'm not tearing them down, I'm not disrespecting them, but I'm gonna call out if your work. Shoot, James Baldwin, right? James Baldwin used to do this. Like, I'm gonna call out if your work is just. If you out here talking about rice, and you're centering white people and white businesses and white wealth in that discussion about something that's so deeply political and something that literally, like, forget political. I'm using that word a little broadly. Rice is grown with our blood, right? This was literal currency at one point. Rice was, you can consider it to be currency at one point. It built generational wealth, y'all, like enormous generational wealth. And these old rice plantations like a Donnelly are still doing that in the way that they've become tax havens for people who make them wildlife preserves, right? We talked about the preservation regime the other day, right? So so rice is very, very political, and you giving away, I'm talking about Anson Mills, you giving away seeds ain't reparations, bruh. Ain't even close. You giving away seed is not reparations at all. At all. And I think it's okay to talk about that. I'm looking at the chat real quick. B-Man, and those questions have led to some change recently. The Geechee Boy Mill, right, and Revelry Gullah Cream Ale changing their names. Absolutely. Now, granted, it had to come with, it definitely, I'm going to say that. Then, was it J.I.B. Todd? This is Stephen and High in the Hog. Tried to point this out to Anson Mills owner. He was not ready to handle it. He wasn't. We watched that episode. That's what really bothered me, right? And then to see that guy be so prominently featured in a discussion about red rice, I'm like, wait a minute, right? No, this thing is deep. And do y'all know how the conditions were on rice plantations? Amethyst, you just wrote in the chat, it's not that Anson Mills isn't ready to handle it. They just don't want to. Amen, Amethyst. I just want to go back to this is the more God. Now I'm being a little reductive in that, just talking about the brutality that existed on rice plantations, and being that I shout out to Amron and Rebecca who took me to Donnelly the other week when we almost got eaten by alligators. Not even lying. Y'all, I know y'all okay, I'm talking to white folks right now. White folks, I know y'all like nature reserves, right? Nature preserves, right? Or whatever. I know y'all like wildlife conservation and shit. Them is not walking trails, though. Those are zoos without cages. So, and I told my friends this, I love them. We had a great walk. Well, when I tell you, it was Jumanji out there. We were walking through grass over our head. I'm like, y'all, this ain't nature. I thought we was gonna look at some birds, and we oh, there's an alligator less than 10 feet from me. Splash. Oh shit. Y'all, I'm a big girl. I was out. We saw alligators. We saw, I'm bringing this up for a reason. We saw the mud holes where the wild boar, they wallow in mud. Just all on a rice plantation. All on the old rice plantation. They calling it Donnelly now, but God knows what the name of it was before. And I'm like, oh, this Jumanji. Oh, you trying to when the monkey's gonna come swinging through these vines? It was crazy. I love the walk, but it was intense. It literally, so seriously, I wasn't even lying about the alligators. I'm not, no cap. The alligator was 10 feet, splash. We was going. I was, yeah. I don't know why white people, why y'all hiking places, y'all, the signs say don't go there. The signs say swamp. Why we at oh, don't worry, let's go to the swamp. Why y'all like that? Why y'all bringing the sister out there doing that? I love y'all. Anyway, back to what I was trying to say about rice plantations. But seriously, being there on Donnelly, really, there were moments where I was just taken aback. I felt like I wanted to connect with my ancestors. I wanted to connect with their amazing engineering. I wanted to connect with the labor that built up this place. And you seeing how they move dirt. I think High on the Hog brought out that statistic about how more dirt was moved to create these rice plantations than was moved in Egypt to build the pyramids. That's how big rice was in the South, in South Carolina, in the Low Country. That's how big rice was. That's how huge this product was. And so like when you think about how treacherous, how there were gators back then, there were mosquitoes, there was disease, there were all these harsh conditions on these rice plantations. Women's reproductive systems would not work correctly because of how labor intensive the work was. It was grueling. If you didn't die from exhaustion and being run into the ground, you probably died by some sort of predator on those the predators on the plantation, and I really sat with that, and when you think about this rice and this Carolina gold, it's really, to me, it's a moment for white folks to not just be nostalgic about this rice. It's really, you can't talk about rice and not think about the bodies and not think about the labor and not think about the expertise, the African expertise, the engineering expertise. We've had other people from other countries come and remark about how the Africans brought this way of irrigation, brought this innovation to this country to make this possible. Brought all this here, brought things like okra, rice, peanuts, like all these things here that are staples now in the Low Country. And folks didn't know how to grow that here. And so you think about all these contributions, and then when we have a conversation, it's just a bunch of keys and whatnot, and then you giving away seed is not reparations. That is not going to make anybody's family whole. And when you think about giving away seed so people can actually continue to work, like no, I'm not good with that. So anyway, I said what I said. It is what it is. I got subbed on some bullshit, so I subbed somebody back. But that's as gentle as I'll ever get. I usually just say a name. I don't really do the sub shit. I'm fucking 40. Oh, I cursed. But rice is political. Don't let anyone ever tell you that it's not. Don't let anyone ever let a white person lead a discussion on unless they're like a scholar or historian that's not speaking from the point of view of the oppressor. Case in point, like a Denmark VC's garden. I already told y'all about white historians. Like that's something that's tricky to navigate. But there are white historians who definitely don't center the oppressor. They don't center white folk. They don't center white folks tendency to want to like recoil every time you hold them accountable. Yeah, Jessica, you say D, I'm just mad at you. You took a picture of a baby alligator. Jessica, you said what the hell or what the fuck is with the gold rice beads? Oh, don't even. Evelyn might not be on right now. Yeah, they've turned the rice beads into fashion. They turned it. It's like that and indigo, cotton, and those rice beads. Think about all the ways the white influencers have made those things popular. They've made the name indigo, like they'll name their businesses indigo something, and to know that the black cans were turned purple, black feet were turned purple, processing indigo, right? Much like how they do the grapes, over in Europe, right? But black people's hands would be stained permanently with indigo. Black people's feet, the children. So it's rice. They take all of our oppression and turn it into something glamorous and luxurious. And there's really not enough conversation around the conflicts behind that. The conflicts behind those products. Can you? All right, I'm gonna leave it there. Sorry for talking about tweets you couldn't see at first. I get so self-conscious when I do stuff like that. I'm gonna leave it there. I just want to have a broader conversation. It's okay to question whiteness. It's okay to be I want to normalize black people talking about programming. I want to normalize black people talking about how they engage with white culture. I want to normalize black people talking about our tokenization, like that happens, and that's not a bad thing. I want to normalize us being able to confront people who have profited and built wealth off of black Black art, and had us just be either hosts or have us either be just like ancillary figures in the greater scheme of things. And ultimately it's up to us to build out the infrastructure to where we can profit from our own culture. Ultimately it's up to us, but what we can do, we can challenge whiteness when it shows up in a space that really ain't for you. So if you out here cooking something that we know is historically Black and you ain't paying tribute. You ain't paying tribute to the people who made that. The people who made that food. I'ma say something. All right. Y'all go. Let me go to work. I'll talk to y'all later. Thank y'all so much for rocking with me. Thank you for starting with me, pausing with me, and coming back. Grassroots. I appreciate y'all. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye.